Hi. So in this drawing, I'm going to be laying out a still life using gesture drawing and some sighting with proportion and angles. Right now, all I'm doing is blocking in some of the bigger shapes that I see. And as I do it, I'm looking at the angles and I'm trying to really study what I actually see before sighting anything. As I draw through the forms. I'm drawing very light. I'm using a 4B pencil so that you can see it somewhat, but normally I would maybe start with a 2B graphite pencil. As I look through my still life, I see where edges are and where things kind of pop out from those edges or contour edges. And I gauge, angles with my sight, with my eyes as I gesture draw without using my nifty little skewer that I'm going to be using for angles. I'm trying to do as much as possible in the gesture drawing, just really looking at what I see and drawing that pretty quick. I did speed up the video, but it only took me about 20 minutes to really lay this drawing in with a gesture drawing. With a gesture drawing, you want to keep your lines open. You don't want to close them and have them very mechanical looking. That will keep you from fixing anything or arranging anything. So right now I am, after I drew in my candle here, I'm getting my height and my width for the proportions because this is going to be my unit of measure for sighting. So double checking that. And now I'm going to use that width and I'm going to compare it to the width of the bottle and to get the other edge. One thing you want to remember is really look at negative spaces. And now I'm starting to check some angles just to see where things line up and are in relationship to each other. So looking at the negative space, I know between the box and the bottle there's somewhat of a negative space, and it's a vertical long bottle, so I want to get that major axis line through the middle because it's a symmetrical unit and the measurements on either side of that axis need to be the same. So the vertical axis, or the longest axis through this, is called the major axis line. And then for ellipses going horizontally, I will draw the horizontal minor axis line. That way I can build my ellipses, make sure they're level, and I'm going to draw all the way through those ellipses to really practice drawing them because they can be kind of difficult, but if you draw all the way through, it's a really good practice. And especially in a glass bottle, if you see the ellipse going through, you want to do that. Here I'm building the stem and I'm going to find another angle to see the height of the bottle and in relationship to the edge that kind of stuck out at the top of the main base of the bottle. So here I'm just doing angles throughout, trying to find relationships. I'm finding the angles of the edges of the box. When you sight for angles, you really want to lock your elbow and you want to stay in a stationary position. You don't want to be moving around. You don't want to go forward or go backwards. Here I use my unit of measure and I got the width of the box in comparison to my candle. And I'm just cleaning up a few lines. So when you use adjustment lines or open, broken line that's really light, you can move those lines around. It's a lot easier to do. Here I'm comparing the width of my candle to the width of the side of the box. So from that back edge to the front corner. And now I'm taking the height of the candle and I'm going into the bottle to find different heights of different parts of the bottle. The first part was to get up to a certain detail, and then now I'm doing the whole height. You can do angles to see ahead of time about how tall something is going to be. If you do an angle using a reference corner, reference point, and seeing where the angle runs through, you can see where the top of something is going to be. And that's what I did with the little vase that's going to go on top of the box, and what I did with the top of the bottle. So there's some back and forth. You can use a unit of measure to get the height and width of everything, because you'll use that for everything. But you can also use angles to make comparisons to see how high something is going to be, how far back something is set, things like that. So it's all about relationships, how things sit in the picture plane in relationship to each other. Building this ellipse right now, I am using the minor and major axis and trying to draw through it. You want to remember that the quadrants within the ellipse with that major and minor axis, they all have to be like a mirror image of each other. So here I'm just double checking angles everywhere. It's a really good idea to do that a couple times, even a few times, everywhere that you see angles or relationships from a reference point to another reference point, such as the bottom of the bottle to the bottom of the candle, bottom of the bottle to the bottom of the vase, things like that, and the tops of things. That's a good way to see how tall something is or how far back something is set. So here I'm starting to construct the little pot that my succulents are in, and I'm getting a measurement. I used my unit of measure, and I'm checking the angles of the sides, and I'm looking at the negative space between the bottle and the pot, making sure that looks like what I see. And I'm getting the true height in relationship to the bottle, the side of the bottle, because the bottle is laid in correctly. So I want to find, how does the top of the pot relate to the edge, that right edge of the bottle. And I laid in my long major axis line, the vertical, because it is symmetrical, and you want to make sure that both sides, like I'm checking here, either side of that long axis line are the same measurement from top to bottom. And building my ellipse, the sides have to fall along that horizontal axis line or the minor axis line, which is the shorter of the two. Here I am double checking an angle using reference points from the top of the bottle to the outer edge of the pot. And I'm just kind of cleaning up a few things here. Double checking angles. Now I'm checking an angle from the side of the pot, the top outer part, to the outer edge of this can to see how far out that comes. And just drawing in the ellipse as I see it in relationship to the pot. And again, for an ellipse, there's the axis lines and the axis line going with the angle of the can, because it's foreshortened. And then the angle from the bottom of the can to the bottom of the pot, that relationship. Again, double checking a few things here. So yeah, just going through, I want to get the table in. I'm going to clean up a few things, and the next video we'll be going in and cleaning up some of the lines now that everything is blocked in where it needs to be. And the angles all look pretty good. Just double check everything, and that'll help a lot. So this box, I want to get this little vase in. So again, I can use reference angles to see where the top of the vase is. I can use my unit of measure, which is my candle. I keep going back to that to get the height of the vase. So I would compare the two. So there's a few relationships that happen. You have proportion relationships once you have your unit of measure. You have comparative proportions. Plumb lines is what I'm doing right here. I'm checking the major axis line of the candle in comparison to the little vase. The one in the vase was a little bit to the right of the one in the candle, so I want to make sure that is recorded accurately. And I'm just going to build the vase. And those are interior proportions. Like the top part is a certain fraction of the base, the round part. Also sighting angles from the top to the side, the top of the vase to the side. The ellipses are very close because they're at eye level, pretty much, up there. So now I'm just going to clean up. The ellipses that are lower down, they're more open. If you notice, like the ones at the top are very close because that's my eye level. And you want to pay attention to that. And that's it. Just clean up a few lines once it's laid in, and the next video will be doing just that. And remember to draw through your objects. It'll help a lot, especially with ellipses.